Okay, folks, I'm going to give you a little bit of bonus content here. I'm going to try to be like Bay Logan from from Dragon Dynasty. I'm just letting y'all know more about me. But I remember I used to watch these, Dragon Dynasty used to have commentary with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Bay Logan, and British chap who ended up getting to Hong Kong, I think late 80s, early 90s. And he's done different production work, but he did a lot of commentaries for these for Shaw Brothers movies and just Hong Kong movies in general. Now, of course, once Dragon Dynasty ended, he went back to doing his production stuff and continued to work in Hong Kong and raise his kids. So I'm going to do something similar. I'm not going to be as good as him, but we're going to do a little bit of commentary just for like maybe 30 minutes. Sorry there. About a movie I uploaded called Fast Fingers from 1983. I for some reason, I cannot get enough of this movie. So I think I'll give y'all a little bit of background. And I want y'all to research this a little bit. So I skipped past the beginning, the burr, the Shaw Brothers stuff. So anyway, let's get to it. There we go. We'll just keep this at about half an hour. We won't go too far. Oh, sorry. Let me put on. Give me one moment. Really, Brown? Me. All right. Okay, folks. Here we go. This movie, I think what they were trying to do. Well, let's start at the beginning before I get into the nitty gritty. This was directed by a gentleman by the name of Xu Sha. For Kung Fu movie fans, he was the Stick King in Drunken Master, the one that falls into the fake poo. So he did that. Also, he was in Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. So in other words, he also did a lot of stunt work at Shaw Brothers as well. So this is kind of why he did 5 movies at Shaw Brothers. And I think arguably this is his best one, at least in my opinion. And not a well-known guy necessarily, unless you're a kung fu movie nerd like me. And I think he is hugely underrated. I think as a choreographer slash a director. In general, I mean he was kind of. Anyway, this is kind of bringing the indie kung fu the indie kung fu movie realm into Shaw Brothers, which was kind of stale at this point and was dying. This is 1983. This movie only made about not even quite 2.5 million in the Hong Kong box office. So this is 2 years before Police Story came out with Jackie Chan, which changed everything. It's just kind of a sad thing. Anyway, so let's kind of see how this movie goes, and we'll kind of explain some more of the characters. Okay, so the guy right here is Cheng Kam. Cheng Kam. Cheng Kam was in, if you guys once remember, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. He is in that. He's the one that is the spoiled son. He's this, I'm gonna attack you with my dragon fist, and he attacks Jackie Chan. He's also in another Shaw Brothers film, not directed by Shu Sha. He was in Flag of Iron. He was the butcher assassin who was trying to kill Kwok Choi. So he also did that role. Did a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's amazing because he never really made the prime time, but he did this movie and also did another movie with the guy on my right, which is Chin Soo Ho. And Chin Soo Ho, good looking guy, never really made it to the prime time. And his brother Chin Karlok is also going to be in this. I'll just skip to, about 30 minutes, I'm not sure. Anyway, his brother Chin Karlok is also in this. I'll point him out. They both trained under Madame Fan Phuc Pha. I'm not trying to say the F word there, but yeah, I think it's Fan Phuc Pha, which is the rival opera school to that of Yu Jim Yun, which is where Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Yuen Wah came from. So, kind of interesting note there. Like I say, Chin Soo Ho got his start doing Shaw Brothers movies. And, even fought a kangaroo in Blonde Fury, I believe. I think that's the name of it. It's another kind of a low-budget 80s movie. And, of course, he did Tai Chi Master with Jet Li in 1990. He did 2 movies with Jet Li, actually. He did that one, but he also did... I can't think of the name of it offhand. Anyway, good-looking guy. Clearly had skill, but just never reached the prime time. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue on here, folks. We'll leave into fingerprints. Okay, continue. Green writing. I haven't seen... Well, I take that back. I was going to say it's not really seen as much in a Shaw Brothers movie. Obviously they get all the credits at the beginning. That way, at the end, they can just say Shaw Brothers and then cut. That's just the way it was done at Shaw Brothers. But anyway. I think this is an effective comedy. I really do. I think it's an effective comedy. It's not as over the top as some comedies are. A lot of Hong Kong comedies are. I think this is something that it really worked well in my opinion. But some people may disagree, and obviously the Hong Kong audience disagreed. This didn't even break 3 million. So anyway. Good double act with these two. They really work together well. I think that's why Shu Sha put them in another movie together, which I can't think of offhand. It's kind of like another Ghost Catcher movie. It really isn't that good necessarily. I think that. Well, let's look on Hong Kong Cinemagic right now. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll look at what is it called? HK Cinemagic. There we go. We'll do Shu Sha. What is the name of that movie? Let's see here. It's around here somewhere. I will finally knock you down. That's a pretty good one. No. Ghosts Galore. Okay, Ghosts Galore. That's the name of the movie. So Ghosts Galore, made around the same time. Interestingly, this is the second movie that Wong Jung Lee did at Shaw Brothers. And Wong Jung Lee, as far as I know, I skipped around admittedly, but he doesn't really do any kicking in that movie, so kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm just doing that right quick there. Let's double check. Yeah, nobody's watching. That's fine. Well, I hope y'all enjoy this later on. Anywho, so let's go back to this. Ghost Galore is the other one that they did, and I think there's some funny bits in it at the beginning. I think in general, yeah. Anyway, this is a good double-hander bit that they, as the British would say, a good double-hander that goes on. Anywho. Another thing to notice about this film, if you've watched as many Shaw Brothers movies as I have, there's very little of the stock music that's used. And for those that may know what I'm talking about, they don't have the typical stingers or any of the. They would have like in the late '80s or the '80s movies that they did Shaw Brothers. They have the bow, or they would do the this kind of stock music that was overly used. This one, they put a little more care into the music. This is kind of like Beverly Hills Cop in a certain way, where they kept that same. It's a very good hook. It's a very good song in my view. It's like do 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 do. I wouldn't be able to speak it. I mean, wouldn't be able to sing it in Mandarin. It is done in the middle of the movie, in whole, and then it's done kind of briefly at the end. The lady singing it, but anywho, I think it's a good song. It doesn't get overly repetitive, at least in my opinion. But anywho, let's go ahead and continue on with this. This kind of tells something that Shaw Brothers, of course, is very well known for. And just Hong Kong movies in general were known for, of course, is the use of, the trampoline. And using that as kind of a way to, a lot of the time you would see them fighting in the air. And of course, that's from the fact that they would just jump on these trampolines and, get the camera locked in. And then they would, have that brief exchange and then go back down. So, anywho, it's kind of a reference. Good little reference there. Have a slow-mo there. Fist of Legend is the other one that that Chin Soo Ho did. It just came to me. Fist of Legend is the other movie that he did. I believe it was called Ho Yun Ja or Fat Yun Gap in Cantonese, which is the name of the founder of the the Jinwu school, the Jingmomen school in China, and then migrated his way down to Hong Kong. Anyway. There's Xu Sha, of course, and Fast Fingers. It's interesting, of course, this would be a movie that could have been done by Wong Yu, the other Wong Yu, the Wong Yu that was in Dirty Ho and those types of movies. And of course, ironically, I believe the year before, he was in Kid from Guangdong, another movie directed by Xu Sha. But Xu Sha, while he learned a lot from Lau Kar he was not as physically adept, I think, as Chin Su Ho, as we will see in this movie. So that's probably why. And I think also, of course, Wong Yu was unfortunately passed away in 2008, but was still on drugs, I believe, probably during the making of this movie, and had a lot of issues, unfortunately. So once this era of Shaw Brothers ended, he kind of took him a while to get off drugs, but was eventually respected by the Hong Kong police and worked in the factory for a time, and passed away in 2008. Kind of just died in obscurity, unfortunately. But yeah, Chin Su Ho still going. He's done some work, done some more TV work, did some work with Sammo Hung. He's also done some more Chinese ghost story type things and kind of played the Taoist master, fighting ghosts. So he's still putting in work. Maybe just not as much, but I think that he's still out there, promoting, promoting himself. I guess I can't really think of a nice way to put that. Anywho, we're going to skip ahead a little bit, I think, here. But this just goes to show that, these guys are thieves and that they do what they have to do. So we'll go ahead and skip ahead here. This is, we'll hear the brief interlude of the song. This is the first appearance of the theme song of the movie. There we go. So that was the late, hold on, I'll pause it here. So this is the late Chan Shen, who passed away in 1984 from a brain tumor, originally from Taiwan. Played a lot of different roles. You'll see him in everything from, the Five Fingers of Death, aka King Boxer, playing a monk in a lot of the Shaolin movies, not only 36 Chambers, but of course he was also in Shaolin Intruders. You'll see him as all sorts of different roles. He was a good character actor, and will be remembered for people who, like me, who have seen a lot of these kung fu movies and watched a lot of Shaw Brothers films. So may he rest in peace. Very catchy song. So we see the introduction of, well, we'll get a better shot of him. Hold on. So Bill Tong, or Uncle Bill, um, Tong Biu, as his name is, Bill Tong, was a horse commentator in Hong Kong, and somehow stumbled his way into movies. And he did a lot of these earlier movies at Shaw Brothers, but of course later on would be in the Police Story movies up through the third one, I believe. Passed away of cancer, I believe, in 2003. I'm gonna say 2003. Anyway, research Bill Tong, or Tong Bu. That's Tung, and was a great comedy actor. Did a lot of different stuff. I guess found his way into movies here, and you'll also see him in another Shu Sha directed movie, also with Chin Soo Ho here, which is I Will Finally Knock You Down, Dad, which is, of course, a movie about basically Chin Soo Ho learning how to defeat his father, who is played by Ching Guan Tai. Once again, for the fights, it's a pretty good movie, but in terms of a story, not really that great. This is, like I say, 1983, 84 was when Shaw Brothers was getting ready to shut down the movie units and to just go full into TV work with TVB. A lot of these same folks and some of the actors that you'll see in Shaw Brothers movies would go on to just be in TVB roles. And you can find TVB TV shows pretty easily on YouTube, and you can kind of see that, but you're not as much of a nerd as I am. I get that. It's okay. I don't blame you. We'll stick around for this joke, and then we'll skip ahead. And of course, part of the joke is, of course, he has a horse. He is a horse commentator. That kind of, that's the joke of it. But, anywho, we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. We're going to see the introduction of this guy. I can't think of his name offhand. Another character actor at Shaw Brothers. But he did a lot of. He was pretty much a character actor, just throughout Hong Kong, and they would put him in. I can't think of his name offhand, and I don't feel like skipping again. But anyway, go ahead and skip ahead a little bit here. Introduction of the next character here. This is right about here. So now we have the introduction of Lo Meng. And of course, Lo Meng was famous as the one of the Venoms. I can't think of which Venom offhand. Keep on wanting to say the Toad. That's not appropriate. I cannot think of his name. Can't think of which role he did. And I'll check this one. Okay, let's see here. I'll just check Wiki here. Shouldn't necessarily use Wiki as a source, but nonetheless. Centipede lizard. Oh no. Yeah, Lo Meng was a toad. Okay. I thought he was the toad. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that. I was bugging. Okay. Yeah, Lo Meng was a toad. Yeah, Lo Meng was a toad in that movie. And of course, he was in Kid with Golden Arm, where he played the lead bad guy. He was in another shoe shop movie. I keep on bringing this up, but he was in Lion vs. Lion with Wong Yu, who we talked about a little bit earlier. And he, of course, is a master of Chao Ga Tonglo, which is a southern mantis style. And reportedly, he never lifted weights. He just did that style. And you'll see him at the end. He's a very buff gentleman. And his Chinese stage name, Lo Meng, Meng meaning kind of like clumsy, this and that. He's kind of made to be a goofy guy. Even in more serious movies, one of his last ones being where he plays a mainland Chinese refugee. He's kind of played as a goofy guy, and usually he gets killed off somewhere in the time. He's also in another great film from the Shaw Brothers studio, which is Men from the Gutter, which was directed by the same director who directed Story of Ricky. So that's a pretty good one as well. You should check that out, Men from the Gutter. I know that one's still on YouTube somewhere. Very interesting. And of course, in that, he plays a sergeant who is just a little bit too rough around the edges, and eventually will be kicked out of the unit. He'll still be in the Hong Kong police, but he's not going to be part of the same unit anyway. Today, he's still doing TV work, and he's done interviews, talking about his time at Shaw Brothers and this and that. And just, seems like a pretty humble guy. Anywho, get his introduction. And let me set the mood a little bit here while I'm thinking about it in terms of the time frame. So 1983, this is 2 years before Jackie Chan was going to release Police Story. This is 3 years after Jackie Chan did Young Master. I only mention Jackie Chan because he really revitalized the Hong Kong film industry. In a lot of ways, the Shaw Brothers had kind of waned a lot. And I think that would be objectively fair to say. I think that in a lot of ways, is that these movies became stale. It was the same actors. It was the same, a lot of the time it was the same sets that were overused, that were reused. Not necessarily overused. But and I think that the Hoy brothers comedies were a lot more influential, and movies like this just weren't in vogue. This is more of a kung fu comedy. And of course, Shaw Brothers did try to capitalize on that. It's kind of funny in a lot of ways, is that Shaw Brothers would come up with a concept, or at least, one of the directors and producers and everything else would come up with a concept. And there would be studios who would just make more money off it. And Shaw Brothers was kind of left in the dust. I would say, this about the Kung Fu comedy because, of course, Lau Kar Leung did the movie, his first directorial debut, which was, oh my goodness, let me see here. Let me see here. What was the name of that movie? It's gonna bug me. The Spiritual Boxer. There we go. Spiritual Boxer, which of course was considered a kung fu comedy, one of the first. But then, of course, people like Jackie Chan came along about 4 years later. About 3 years later, technically, with Master with the Cracked Fingers, which was later released, released after the popularity of Snake in the Eagle's Shadow and Drunken Master. And Shaw Brothers tried to do a carbon copy. I cannot think of the name of that movie. Try to copy what Jackie Chan was doing. It just never came out quite well enough. And it was kind of interesting. I was looking back. There's a Shaw Brothers movie that was called Hong Kong Commando. Well, no, excuse me, Mercenaries from Hong Kong. And it had Dit Long. It had Lu Li. It had Michael Chan Wai Man and Wong Yu, as we had mentioned previously. And watching clips of that movie, I said, "My goodness, this feels like Condor Heroes before Sammo Hung did it." And that movie, and Mercenaries from Hong Kong, was done in like 1983, I think, possibly. And that was, of course, directed by Wong Jing, the famous Hong Kong director who would go on to fame. Was, of course, the son of Wong Tin Lam, very famous Hong Kong director from the 1950s. Anywho, I think it's just interesting to note. I just think that Shaw Brothers kind of seem like, they would come up with a good idea, or they would have something in store, but it just never came through completely. And there were studios that, the indies, the independents did it better. That's unfortunate. Anyway. So we've kind of set it up here. Set up some more of the plot here. Skip along here to, of course, they would later meet. We'll go ahead and cut to one of the first other fights here. So this guy is Tai Bo. Tai Bo also did some work at the Chinese Opera School. I believe it was at Yu Jing Yun School. He was a good friend of Jackie Chan, apparently. And he was also in Police Story and did some other movies with that. He's kind of a guy in the background. Never really made it to primetime necessarily, but I think was a good, played along and was good friends with a lot of these guys and said, hey, You want to come to my movie? Sure, why not? So that's probably as easy as it was. Who knows? So this is Liu Lai Ling. Liu Lai Ling, uh, very interesting lady. She always is. She comes off very much as a tomboy in a lot of these films. She was also in the second Bastard Swordsman. Um, she was also in Lady Assassin, I believe. Maybe I'm getting that mixed up. I think she's in that though. But in general, she very much played this tomboy, who just didn't want to be told what to do, and very much she's playing to the hilt for this one as well. Anyway, we're going to see her do some fighting. So let's see that. Go ahead and skip a little bit ahead here. Basically, is that the other gal is being courted by Lo Meng. So, of course, this is how the story goes. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit here. Interesting little bit here, but let's go ahead and get into this. So she continues to try to fight back a bit. But, of course, he's brought his friends. And then Lo Meng was helping out in the back, and then, Great use of slow-mo, though. Great use of slow-mo in this movie. It's different to see Lo Meng, who was pretty much just, his choreography, the choreography that he was given in a lot of the Venom's movies didn't really change that much. It was just, okay, we're going to let you go ahead and do the style that you've learned. Southern Praying Mantis, you're going to throw in some snap kicks and, just use your strength and, boom. This is a little more advanced. Same thing with Lion versus Lion. You'll see a bit more of what he can do, what he was able to do. And I think you'll get to see it in this, in the later scenes as well. We'll show a little bit more of this. That bit kind of reminds me of Indiana Jones. Maybe that influenced this movie a little bit, of course, where he's twisting the sword, and basically, the way they wrote it was, well, we could have just had a fight, but instead he just pulled out his gun and shoots him. Same type of thing with this. But yeah. Now this bit right here um, reminds me a bit of Mad Monkey Kung Fu or Feng Hao, directed by Lau Kar-leung, where Siu Hao is fighting with the bad guys, and Siu Hao is able to get them interlocked, get the bad guys kind of twisted up like pretzels in these very weird ways, and kind of reminds me of that. Obviously, that was done 4 years previously, but I think Shu Sha, of course, was probably influenced by Lau Kar-leung to a point, and maybe didn't necessarily see that, but I think thought, this is a good idea. We gotta, show off his stuff and show that he's a very capable captain. Show that Lo Meng is capable. So I think that's what this scene is trying to show us. Anywho, I've got this little bit here of comedy. Mm-hmm. There we go. This is just a cute scene. I like this. It's just a good use of the song and kind of just goofy, but I still like it nonetheless. It's kind of like the Three Stooges type of thing. It's a catchy song. I can't lie. It's just very catchy. The kazoo kind of lets it down, but it's okay. They have to be broad. Hong Kong, they have to be broad in their comedy. And just China in general. The United States too. We have our own broad comedy, but it's a different type of thing. Apparently they really like that woman. Yeah. They're like, oh, that's okay. Yeah. Oh, that guy in the background was really okay. Skip ahead a little bit here. So basically, they fast talk Lo Meng. Let's go ahead and skip ahead a little bit here. It's going to show them meeting the family. We'll skip past that. This is just more dramatic stuff. We're going to skip ahead here to the next fight. How about that? We're going to go ahead and show where Chin Kar-lok's brother, Chin Su-ho's brother is, his real life brother. Basically, this says, there we go. It's right there. So we see this karate school. So let's back it up a little more. There we go. Back it up just to here, show you. So this guy right here is Chin Su-ho's brother, Chin Kar-lok. Did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Never really got his own movie necessarily, but he did a lot of choreography, did a lot of stunt work. I believe he's still doing work. You'll see him among many other works. He was in Drunken Master 2 in a brief bit. He's been in a lot of stuff. Look for him on Hong Kong Cinemagic, and you can kind of get an idea. Did a lot, but basically is an action director. Anyway, just to point that out, real life brother, kind of. Maybe he's like, hey, you want to give my brother some work? Who knows? Who knows how it worked back then? It's interesting right here. That sort of move right there, locking the leg behind and using the other one, that's kind of a Wong Jung Lee type of move. You've seen a lot of these kung fu movies. It's very much a Wong Jung Lee type move. And for those that don't know Wong Jung Lee, amazing. One of the best kickers in martial arts films, period. But yeah, anywho. We're kind of setting this guy out. So we're setting up this guy more as a judo guy, and you'll see a little bit more of that. You'll see the other guy as more of a kicker, as a boot man, as they would say in the United Kingdom. So they're kind of just setting that up a little bit and showing the styles that are going to be used by the bad guys here. And then, of course, we have our main bad guy, Mr. Wong Lung Wai. This is a good setup for the bad guys here. That's all we're doing. Maria Yun, I believe, is her name. Anyway, we're going to skip past that here. Talking a little bit about them stealing and everything like that, but we do get the full song here. We'll go ahead and listen to that. Seeing more sleight of hand and everything like that, kind of what you would call skullduggery type of stuff, the Black Sciences. I believe that there was a book I used to have called Black Sciences, and it was a pretty good book talking about, manipulation and all that type of thing. So this is kind of the sleight of hand and that type of thing that, your standard, lumpen proletariat may use. Anywho. There we go. Very nice Mando pop song, I guess you could say. You gotta love the perm. Gotta love that perm on Shin Su Ho there. I mean, obviously, it's from the beginning. Yeah, he's got the perm, but still. So we're saying the tricks of the trade, I guess you could say. Pickpocketing. And of course, just to show the payoff, bazinga. There we go. We're going to go ahead and skip a little bit here. We're going to see the Axe Gang, as you'll see in a lot of Kung Fu movies, including Kung Fu Hustle. See the infamous Axe Gang. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. We'll just skip the good fight here. Some of these guys, if you're a real nerd, you can pick out who they are. One of these guys is Choi Fat. Did a lot of choreography. Another guy who was in a couple of the Shu Sha directed movies at Shaw Brothers. And now we'll use a sped up version of the theme song. Good use of the slow-mo. Chin Soo Ho really put in some work in this movie. So you really got to appreciate it, because obviously Chin Soo Ho, like I say, he just never quite made it. Is that he did have arguably his own movie with, I Will Knock You Down, Dad. The following year with this one, directed by Shu Sha as well. It just never really translated, from Two Champions of Shaolin, which was his first movie. Doesn't really do much, fancy stuff in that. He's not really allowed to because, of course, it's about the Venoms. And, but he did a couple of the Venom movies. And throughout, after Shaw Brothers kind of faded out, and him doing, including fighting a kangaroo, I believe. He's a fairly good-looking chap. Just never quite made it. It's unfortunate, but I think that probably just sees it as the way it is, and he does what he has to do. So, anywho. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. Pretty good fight scene, though. Finish it up with this here, where we find everybody. And this umbrella emporium, I guess you could say. There they go. Can't think of this gentleman's name offhand, but once again, kind of another late era Shaw Brothers Shaw Brothers actor. A lot of the time with Hong Kong movies in general is that you just kind of go with the flow. You don't have to try to make sense of them. You just watch them just to enjoy these guys, just doing what they do best. And I think this is, this is a perfect example of it. You don't have to try to make sense of every little thing. I think it's still a well-written story. I think that it's very good. I think by this point, Shaw Brothers was going to close up shop. I believe by 1984, they stopped doing a lot of the film units were going to shut down. They were going to stop doing the like the wuxia movies, movies like Little Dragon Maiden and this and that. Those are some of the last movies that were made in those studios. Which were pretty much just filmed on studios. You can tell those obviously very much. With this, this movie. Very much an outside movie for the most part. You will get some good indoor stuff here later on. But I think I think in general they were just trying to save money by going outside and just filming on the back lot. So just an interesting little side note is that Shaw Brothers, I think they did realize that eventually that they weren't making as much money. They did have some hits here and there. They would do some Cantonese comedy movies and this and that. Obviously, this movie is in Mandarin. I think that they, as Run Run Shaw definitely knew that, they could only get so much juice out of that orange. I'm gonna skip ahead here. Let's skip past this here. Skip a little bit further ahead here. We'll just go ahead and cut to the end scene. How about we do that? Actually, we'll stay for this fight scene. Hold on. We'll watch this fight scene and then we'll skip. Basically, I'll just tell y'all what's going on. Is it basically is that Lo Meng's boss was, there was a bomb planted where he was going to meet somebody and he died. So, as sometimes they do, kind of like a Weekend at Bernie's type of thing, they said, well, we're going to pretend like he's not dead. And, basically, hey, Chin Su Ho and Bill Tong and, Chen Kam, can you help me organize this so I can help catch Wong No Wai? So that's basically it. And so now they're trying to get assassins to kill Lo Meng's boss. Basically, that's all it is. This the chief, I guess. Anyway. Not many times that you see a double for Chin Su Ho or Chen Kam. It's interesting to see because Chen Kam, obviously being a bit of a bigger fella, you didn't really see him, as there weren't many doubles of him. Now, of course, you will see, of course, that they do have pads, so when they do get kicked, they weren't completely dumb in that way. They're not going to just take a kick. I mean, they obviously, if they have the ability to do that, then yeah. But yeah, just to say. And I wanted to say this too. This gal was in Condor Heroes, the movie with Sammo Hung, which was about them going into to free some Vietnamese prisoner, or I think that they were kind of like a play on the United States, but I think that there were some Vietnam veterans who were supposedly trying to go in and save some POWs, I believe. This lady was in it. Her style seems very much like wushu, but it could be more of a a mix between operatic style, which is what which is what Shin Soo-ho is doing and what he trained in a lot of his youth. And she's more of a wushu player. It feels like, anyway. I don't know. Anyway. Another aspect I wanted to include before this fight is almost finished, but a lot of this, what they did was, as well, is that a lot of these choreographers, by the time the 1980s rolled around, Shaw Brothers, is that they basically just said, okay, well, we're going to let the action directors finally get directing jobs. We let Lau Kar-leung become a director in 1974. We're going to have Shu Sha, who had been a stuntman for a while at Shaw Brothers, and of course, like I say, he had been in Jackie Chan's movies. We're going to let him direct, and we're going to let Tong Gai, who was the co-choreographer with Lau Kar-leung in a lot of movies, directed Shaolin Intruders, Obi and the Kung Fu Master, among other ones. We're going to let him direct as well. And what these guys did was they wanted to get as many of their friends as they could and say, hey, we want you to get experience being action directors so that you'll be more marketable to other studios and for other independent filmmakers and everything else, so that producers will look highly on you. So I think that's very important. It's just one of those things where, everybody takes care of everybody. It's very much that type of thing. It's the same type of thing in Hollywood, same type of thing, anywhere else, is that, hey, we're going to protect each other. So let me check right quick here. Let me do this. Because I know I have it saved, I think. Let me see here right quick. I'll show you how many choreographers were used in this movie. That. And we'll do yep, there it is. First result. There we go. And, oh, sorry. There we go. Yeah, 2.458 million Hong Kong. Just to give a good value, just to give you a rough idea, about 7 or 8 million would be pretty good box office, which is, a lot of the time that's all Shaw Brothers could do by this point, was about 7 million, even though in 1967 they had broken the record where they did One Armed Swordsman, which broke $1 million, which was seen as, wow, that's good. By this point, Jackie Chan, by comparison, I think, with Police Story in 1985, would do 20 million at the box office. So that tells you where the Hong Kong audience was and how the Asian audience was in general. Because, of course, Shaw Brothers owned a lot of studios, not only in Hong Kong, but they owned the theaters throughout Asia. Malaysia was a big place where they had a lot of work as well. Let me look here right quick. Who are the choreographers? So, Chen Ka-shing, Chen Ka-sang, he would kind of go on to do stuff. Choi Fat, he's a guy that had his face covered with a hat. Yun Fai, he was the guy that fought Yun Tak in The Master, which I believe. No, it wasn't directed by it. It was choreographed by Shu Sha, but yeah. So you had these 3 choreographers on this film, including Shu Sha as well, being the action director. Of course, he trained with Manifang Fa. Yeah, Maria Yun Chi Wai. There we go. And the other gal, just to say, La Yin San. Okay, that's the one that Lomo likes. So there we go. Just a little bit of background. So if you ever want to check out Hong Kong Cinemagic, that'll kind of give you a better idea. Anywho, just to say. So we'll go ahead and finish the end of this scene here. Classic Shaw Brothers Way. Classic Hong Kong movie, Way to Die. Yep. Okay, we're going to skip to the good stuff here. So let's see this end fight right quick. So we're going to see Maria Yun unfortunately get killed. Good character actress at Shaw Brothers. She was in the I can't think of what the name of that movie is. This is going to be longer than 30 minutes. Oh, well. And that is Choi Fat right there on the bed. Yeah. The kazoo kind of lets it down, but that's okay. I'm willing to ignore it. Why did he have that the spider web on his head? I was like, is that something that you could just that he actually got tattooed on his head? Or what? Because I've never seen this actor before. I'll be honest with you, but I'm like, what in the world was that guy doing? Anyway, just enjoy the great production design, great set here. Once again, done by Shaw Brothers. I believe Johnson Tsao did a lot of art direction at Shaw Brothers. Amazing job. That's one thing I think that, if nothing else, that will last with Shaw Brothers movies is amazing sets. Now, if you freeze frame, and this may be not the best version, but that looks like Chang Cam actually taking that throw. And I'm not sure what it is in judo, what they would call it. But I know that there's an official name in Japanese. I just can't think what it is. But anyway, taking that throw. He's actually, he's a trooper, and he took that throw. Anyway. Do another WWF move there. There we go. It's just a great little beat. Let's see Lo Mong putting in some work here. What a time. Good use of the wire there. Yep. Kind of does a Bruce Lee thing there. Boom. Good for him. You can see that, yep. Once again, that's a good stuntman there, puts it in. Yep. Got a stuntman using the jumps there, using the front flip. Because obviously Lo Meng isn't an acrobat. That was a stuntman doing that because that's pretty dangerous for Chin Soo Ho. That spit take was another thing that Shusha used. He used that in Line versus Line. In the beginning fight, you'll notice that they throw that punch and does a spit take. That's something they did a couple times in kung fu movies to kind of use the impact of it. Kind of get that boxer movie type of feel, kind of like the the Raging Bull type of move. Anywho, just the same. Anywho, let's continue on. That didn't look like Wong Lin Wai. It's obviously a stuntman for Chin Soo Ho once again. Kind of a little bit dangerous, so I want to make sure it didn't fall on his head. That's Chin Soo Ho. Of course, we want to show. So that's Chin Soo Ho doing that. We want to make sure to see his face. For the discerning audience member out there saying, hey, who did these scenes? Yeah, did he actually do his scenes? Great energy with this movie. Great energy. Great, yeah. Let me pause it just for a moment. It's so interesting to see. I mean, Wong Wai, Lo Meng, they had fought before, I'm sure, in a Venom's movie, I'm sure, but they also had fought in Line versus Line at the end of that movie. I mean, these guys there's got to be so much experience between those two, just two greats, to be honest with you, for Kung Fu movies. Anyway, just admiring that for a moment. Can't be a Lo Meng movie without him going topless. It's funny too. I just noticed that. You'll notice that the sweat stain right there. You could tell that they were really putting it in. That Wong Lin Wai, when he did that kick, foot, is that his shoes, were absolutely soaked. Yeah. So when he throws that kick and just hits the wall, you can see the sweat. It's coming off. Really putting in the work. No air conditioning, of course, in these sets. There's no, maybe they had a fan, but yeah, very hot on these sets. Just to say. Good use of a wire again. That's actually him. Once again, we're going to see him do a. That looks like him doing that drop kick. It's pretty good, though. And then, boink. I just like, well, okay, he's done. All right. They're like, let's get out of the way, get out of the way. And boom. Stuntman, obviously, for this. And boom. Okay. We got to stick around for the ending because it's a very funny ending. I still find it funny. And since I skipped past it, I'll just explain it. There's a commander for the police force. I guess it's over the chief that gets killed, and they robbed him. Basically, yeah, they robbed and had a cameo from the director Shu Sha in it as well. I decided to skip over it, but anyway, so they find out that yeah, they're the ones that robbed him, and of course he's the commander, and so yeah. Anyway. What? Uh-oh. You're like, oh boy. So we get music at the end. Like I said, this is one of the lost gems at Shaw Brothers, in my opinion. I think it's still a great movie. We see all the guys that they screwed over, and so you know it's going to be on. Like, and then what do we see? Oh, we see the return of Wong Lin Wai. And that's it. So that is the end of Fast Fingers from 1983. A lovely film from Shaw Brothers. What are your thoughts on the film Sonny Chiba was in? You know, he had some interesting films. He did, of course, movies like Karate Bear Fighter. Um, but he also did comedy movies as well. You know, I mean, you do all sorts of things when you're working at I think it's fascinating to say the least what he what he did. I think Sonny Chiba, but yeah, he did. I think great actor. Regardless, I think he did great work. Regardless, I think he just did a lot of great work in my view. I mean, what else could I really say? I mean, he started his own action school in Japan. He did a lot of work, of course. Yasuaki Kurata, you learn about him. He set up his own separate action school. We did a lot of work with him. So I think it's just an interesting film. Of course, Shaw Brothers Studio, they did like give or take about 1,000 films between 1957 and roughly 1987, roughly. So a 30-year time frame. I just think I just like those Shaw Brothers films. I think that Fast Fingers is definitely one of those gems that really came out of those waning days of Shaw Brothers help and in their time making films. Now, of course, technically, is they did do films under the name Cosmopolitan Group. I believe it was called like Cosmopolitan Film Group or something like that. So they did still do. So they still did movies. It was just under a different name. And of course, Shaw Brothers, they did still do movies like the last movie that Lau Carlo directed in 2003, Drunken Monkey, was through Shaw Brothers. Wasn't necessarily the same thing. And of course, nowadays, it is owned by Celestial Pictures. So hopefully they don't copyright strike me. I don't think they have. And I don't think they will necessarily, because I've seen some movies that are still up. I think just in case, hopefully y'all enjoyed that. That was longer than I wanted to do, but oh well. I hope y'all enjoyed it. But yeah, like I say, Stevie J. I know that you're not there. That's fine. But yeah, Sonny Chiba. Did a lot of great work. Did a lot of great movies. I'm trying to think of some of the movies. Like I said, Karate Bear Fighter is just the one that sticks out. Because obviously he fights a bear in that. Or not really, but yeah. Did that movie where they went back in time to like the feudal era in Japan, and he wanted to be. But yeah. Anyway, did a lot of great films, nonetheless. Anywho, I think I'll keep it there. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I know y'all are going to be like, I don't want to watch an hour and a half video. And that's fine. I don't blame y'all. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. And later today, I will be doing Chapter 4 of State Revolution. So, I hope y'all stick around for that later today. Anyway, see you later, folks.